does the Abrams SEP V2 V3 have Spall liners now with the updated depleted uranium and Jobum? I'm about to go into a long one. Okay, so yes, the problem is where the Spall liner is, and again, this is where Gaijin is screwing with everybody, and it's also where they've screwed themselves because they just revealed a lot about their damage bottling. So recently, we all know Spall liners were introduced to the T90M. Okay, now these Spall liners are a specific type of cloth-like, Kevlar-like material. It's an aramid of fibers that has been introduced into the interior of the T90M. Of course, the German mains were very quick to point out that the Leopard 2A7V has it, and were then pointed it out into the interior of their turret. So that had to be added as well. That also had to happen with the Stritzwagen 122 Plus. Now, here's where things get wonky. The English language is a beautiful thing. It's also a very convoluted thing. Internal can also mean integral. Does the Abrams have internal Spall liners? Yes. Is this armor, but this is integral Spall liners to the actual armor package. Okay? So, the front of the turret, the side of the turret, the front of the actual Abrams lower front plate all have Spall liners. Okay? Also, another thing that Gaijin kind of screwed themselves on is there's no flak vests on the Abrams tankers. There's no flak vests on the Challenger 2. We have flak vests on bombers. Why do we not have flak vests on tanks? That's already programmable in their program. So why wasn't it done from the very beginning when they know that commonly most tankers, especially in Western tanks, wear flak vests? Furthermore, okay, there is overspalling with heat rounds. I literally killed a tank with a round to prove to a forumite that there was overspalling, and he admitted, yes, this is what I found, and I had to agree with him that yes, there's no Spall liner in the hull, at least on the side, but the problem is that Gaijin is modeling all things as the same equal hardness all the way through, rather than treating it as volumetric armor. We have volumetric shells, but we don't have volumetric armor. That's a problem. Okay? You can do it with, say, World War II hulls. You can do it with, say, World War I hulls. You can do it with even some of the early Cold War hulls. But once you get up to modern main battle tanks, we have varying degrees of thickness, varying degrees of hardness, and we have varying materials all the way throughout our entire vehicle. They don't show the turret bustle. They say that's just sheet metal. It doesn't catch spalling. Yes, it does. And then, of course, they overspall into the crew compartments. They treat it as like a 300 or a 400 Brunel hardness armor being shattered, when most armor is not that hard, especially in Western designs. So, and of course the depleted uranium, they don't include that. And I'm still researching up and trying to find evidence of DU in the hulls. I have somebody I need to ask about that. However, the DU the quote-unquote uranium armor that they put into the front of the turret face is not it. They basically took the Swedish trials of 1995, 1996. They then said, okay, this is a good estimate of rolled homogeneous armor equivalent, RHAE. We're going to use this, and we're going to add a little bit. That little bit that they added is not even close to the actual proper, like, limitation. because there's several different properties to depleted uranium armor that you have to take into account, which they can't because they don't use the proper, they don't have, their servers don't have the hamsters to keep up with the amount of volumetric armor and the amount of volumetric data that would need to be included in a modern APFSDS round striking composite arrays. That's just the way it is. So they have to simplify it. Now, the other downside. There was a time I want to say a few months ago, or at least a few years ago, I recall a couple updates back, it was claimed that they were researching into making it so that APFSDS or APFSDS-T modern Sabo rounds would shatter on extreme angles against modern main battle tanks. They did it for APDS in the early Cold War, but they did not transfer it over from the dev server into the actual game. I don't recall exactly what it was that they said that it wasn't good enough or something. It's wonky. Would that they would include shattering. If they would, y'all would be bringing full ammo racks, I promise you that. Because you'd find out real quick just how easily armor shatters incoming penetrators. And yes, that goes for the M829 too. And when everybody say, before you say, well, it's depleted uranium, depleted uranium is still a metal, folks. It is still a metal. And depleted uranium alloy that is used in our rounds will still shatter at high velocities when it impacts against very high hardness ceramics or composites. That's just the way it is. That's physics. Which is why when we got past the first M829, they started with the A1. Then they went to the A2. Then we went to the A3. Because the boys upstairs at the Army Research Laboratory started to do all the calculations, used the programs that they had, and started to go, okay, this is not going to work, we need to do this. Okay, this is not going to work, we need to do this. It is a constant fight not only with the tanker, it is a constant fight with science and the research laboratories. They do that, they do their bit, we do our bit. Okay? War Thunder is a game that is trying to approximate billions and billions of dollars of worth of equipment and time and energy and research. And a lot of that is classified. So, in my opinion, does the M1A2 SEP V2 V3 have Spall liners? Yes, it has Spall liners here, it has Spall liners here, it has Spall liners on the side of the turret. The downside is that the damage models are showing that there is a propensity to Spall, as though it were a high hardness impact, and that is offing crew. The Abrams turret ring is a complete mess. I can say this because that quote-unquote shot trap, I went into the Leopard 2A5, 2A6 recently. I got within like 400 meters of a Tunguska. And I recall this Tunguska literally just was ripping belts into me. And all I felt was like, I started chuckling because it was hilarious. And I thought, that's the proper amount of armor an Abrams should have. And yet, if a real Tunguska, or if a Gepard or something else, were to engage an Abrams from the front in War Thunder, same as the 2S38, those rounds are somehow going to get through this turret ring and kill off all the crew because of spalling. Again, showing the spalling is inaccurate. There's some things that need to be worked on. So, God bless. Hope that answers the question. I'll catch y'all next time.